what is going on, Obscure Mic people? It's me, it's Bark. I'm back with another microphone. And today in the studio, we have a condenser microphone. That is correct. It is the AKG P220. Yes, the P220. Not exactly a super obscure mic by any means, but it's also one that also gets overlooked because everyone just thinks that the AKG 120, 220, 420. 420, brah! The only people I've ever heard really laugh like that are, partakers of the devil's lettuce on a consistent basis, I think they're overplaying it a little bit. Most of my friends that do that every day, all the time, they don't laugh like that. Anyways, P220, I don't know what the hell's going on. So this microphone you can get for about $150 right now, kind of considered an all-purpose condenser microphone. And it is actually a pretty nice microphone. The build quality, well, let's just cut to the video. So this microphone is all metal body, metal mesh grill. It has a bass roll-off switch and a 20 decibel pad, and it has really good weight to it and a pretty strong grill. And it also rolls on tables. But this microphone not only has a great build quality, it actually has a pretty solid, clear, up-front sound to it. Now, granted, a lot of people prefer the old version of the Perception lineup, like this Perception 100. It keeps it 100. It's actually a really nice microphone that you can get cheaper than this. So that will play a part in our review here. We'll set this P100 off to the side. Now, a little something I learned from reviewing this microphone by way of the internet and words. The P120 seems to be a little noisier, a little more self-noise than the P220. So the P220 seems to be the good starting point if you want to get into the Perception line of AKG microphones. Let's go ahead and run it through the rigors. Peter Piper picked a patch of pickled pineapple pizza. Peter Piper picked a patch of pickled pineapple pizza. Also, this microphone's very heavy, and the good old InnoGear shock mount, holding it just fine. $11. Again, just kind of my go-to for quick switches. When you get right on top of the AKG Perception 220, this is what it sounds like when you're right on top of the AKG Perception 220. This is what it sounds like. Let's go ahead and do some off-axis rejection. I'm talking directly into the microphone. I'm going to turn it 90 degrees so you can hear what the off-axis rejection is like at 90 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and turn it 180 degrees now. Don't know if you hear table bumps or if that InnoGear shock mount's doing its job. We're going to turn it to 90 degrees yet again. I'm sure you hear something. And then we're going to spin it all the way back around as not to tangle the cord to the front of the microphone. Now, it almost looks, I didn't look up the capsule size for this thing, but I could swear this has a bigger capsule than, they're both pretty big, pretty beefy boys. But anyways, this microphone, I will say I started out my podcasting career, if you could call it a career. I think total money put in the bank from podcasting at this point might be about $1,500 over 3 years. Not quite enough to get me on my way to self-sufficient and non-reliant on working for a company in America. But nonetheless, I'd do it for free, baby. I'd do it for free. I mostly do. So I used the P120 on the Back Row Fantasy Show podcast. Me and my two co-hosts used the P120. And we weren't in the best room to be using condenser microphones for podcasting. But I will say, they did serve us pretty well before we eventually moved on to MXL BCD1s, I believe. But as far as this microphone goes, it has a really pleasant low and mid sound. The top just gets a little grainy. But even though it gets a little grainy, this microphone sounds better than the vast majority of cheap condensers that I've ever used. So considering you can get this used for 70, 80, 90 bucks, it's pretty nice. It sounds pretty good for that price. I don't love using a condenser for podcasts, but if you are in a treated space that's fairly quiet without road noise and other distractions, it does work and it does sound good. I mean, I like the sound of my voice on this microphone. Can't complain. It's definitely a keeper if you're just going to go one-time budget, interface, mic, you're looking to spend less than $200. You know, this will serve you well for a very long time, and it can serve you well for a lot of different use cases, not just podcasting, of course. That's just my bag, but I could easily see this being used for instruments, vocals, whole nine yards. Let's go ahead and play with the filter switches real quick. We'll go ahead and turn on the bass roll-off. All right, this is with the bass roll-off engaged. Still sounds pretty good, just loses a little bit of that low end. The top end sparkle doesn't seem to be any harsher without it, which is nice. So let's go back to flat mode. Now we're back to flat mode. And that is not aggressive. That's a nice roll-off switch. It's not overly aggressive. It doesn't get rid of all the low end. It just does what it's supposed to do. A little roll-off. Let's go ahead and do the 20 decibel pad engage now. Now the 20 gauge, I don't even know if you can hear me because I can't hear myself. But this is the negative 20 decibel pad. Let's go ahead and get that off. Now we're back to the sound of the microphone. Let's throw some processing on this thing and see what we can make it sound like. All right, so now we've got a big bottom, compression, and a de-esser. And I like the low end added to the mic. I always do. But I do think that extra big bottom does make the top even grainier. So maybe I wouldn't use this after all. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Now we're back to no processing. And yeah, a lot of the grain kind of subsided a little bit without that processing. So this may actually be a mic I use unprocessed if I was going to use it for podcasting. I mean, I'd probably throw that de-esser back on it. But other than that, I think the mic sounds pretty solid as is. Let's go ahead and see what it sounds like compared to the P100. Okay, so this is the Perception 100. This is a microphone that is preferred by that guy. I've never got his name. His channel name changes constantly. He really likes this mic, and I really like this mic. Thanks to him, actually. I never would have even thought to use the Perception 100. I would have thought it was just an outdated P120. But my impression when I plug this microphone in is it is definitely a little bit smoother and it is a little bit richer, and I feel like the mids are a little bit nicer on my voice, But I do like the Perception 100 more. It's not quite as grainy, not quite as shrill. This one's barely those things, in my opinion, so it's not like that's a detriment to this microphone. I just think the P100 sounds just better. It's just a little flatter, and I just think it has a little bit more of a more pleasing sound, and I like the low end on this one just a tad more too. So the P100, it wins. This might be, I'm keeping this P100 as kind of a budget mic go-to. I kind of wish I had the King B again, so I knew which one I preferred between this and the King B, because I do agree with that fella. Give me your name, bro. But I like the P100, and it's up there as far as like budget kings go. Oddly enough, I talked about the King B, but this is definitely a really good budget condenser microphone. Let's go ahead and switch back over to the P220. Now we are back on the P220. And I will say this does have that more modern, crisp sound that a lot of folks are looking for, but I still like the flatter sound of the P100 there. So, but again, this mic, don't take anything away from it. I think this is one of those solid workhorses for someone on a budget that you're going to get good sound out of this. It's not the best. It's not going to win a whole lot of shootouts or competitions, but for what it is, it does have a really solid sound. So the P220, again, you can get it used. They're all over the place. Nobody keeps this son of a bitch for some reason. I'm going to give it the green light just because it really is great for the price, and I imagine there are a lot of applications that this will sound pretty solid on. So P220, I'm going to slide it right out of this mount here. It's not what she said. It's not what she said at all. But I'm going to take it out of this mount, get the next one ready for the next video, record as many as I can tonight, which will probably just be this one because I'm tired, lazy, old, grouchy, just an overall son of a bitch. Get off my lawn! God, blessed kids. Shit. All right. P220 is out. Old Grouch Man Bark is out. Thanks for joining me yet again. Obscure Mics. Peace out.